Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing and PR, the editor of Punchline magazine. Welcome to Punchline Talks, the big interview. Today I'm joined by Gary Jones, who's the chairman of Glevum Windows, Doors and Conservatories. You can tell there's never been anybody with so much branding on the screen. Gary, welcome to Punchline Talks, sir.
Good morning, Mark. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, very good. It's great to see you. I've known you a long time, actually, ever since I was working at the Citizen and Echo newspapers. You were one of the clients I used to deal with then as well. Let's start with the business where you are now, please, because Glevum Windows, it's well known throughout the county, but how big a company is it? How many people do you employ, mate? And is it split into different divisions as well?
Yeah, turnover is around 10 million, just over. We're employing currently 82 people. So we are split into two divisions, if you like. Glevum Windows is what certainly the people of Gloucestershire know us for. That's been going since 1984. And the other side of the company is the new build side, where we work for big developers, most of the big developers, Taylor Wimpey, Persimmon, people like that countrywide. And that tends to be the whole south of the country. So we're operating around London, Norfolk, Cornwall, you name it. We're sort of there on the new build side of the business. The side of the business a lot of local people don't really know that we're into. It's sort of it's just not something that's publicised, but yeah, that's where we currently stand.
How much of that what a chunk of the business is that business then?
75% new build, 25% domestic, as I call it. So yeah, so three quarters quarter.
Now your headquarters is obviously on the way to the Forest of Dean. Whereabouts is it, and how big a warehouse have you got there, or
yeah,
showroom?
Well, I'm sat in the car park now. You see. So that's it, Broad Oak, which is just outside Newnham-on-Severn. So we've been there since the millennium year. We moved in 2000. It's a site I bought in 1997, and with good collaboration with Forest of Dean District Planning, who were great, by the way. We managed to redevelop the site as you see it, and yeah, currently we've got it's 3 acres in total, with 2 acres yet to develop on. A project for the future, Mark.
And you're manufacturing there as well, don't you?
No, we do an element of manufacture, but in our earlier days when we were at Moorlands Trading Estate, where I first would have met you, we were manufacturing basically everything. One of the lessons in business I've learned, slowly becoming a jack of all trades, etc. So yeah, we were manufacturing PVC, aluminium, glass sealed units, timber frames. We were doing all sorts. But we find that down as time went on, and as we become a bigger player, and we had sort of buying power, it become more sensible to buy product in. So that's what we did, and we get good rates because we buy a lot of windows. So the one thing we never let go of is quality control. So product will come in and we finish it. So we finish it in the way that we like it. So we've got control of it.
Well, our door here that leads to the garage is your door, by the way. We had fitted around. I don't know.
Is it okay? Is it okay?
It's still working. This is not a process of a complaint, by the way, Gary.
How long's that been in?
Oh goodness, 20 years, something like that.
I can feel a sale coming on.
Anyway, I bet you can tie me down before the end of the interview. I'm not too careful. Now, when you started the business, you were only 22, weren't you? How did you? Yeah. What were you doing to start the business? How did you fall into it?
Christ, how long have you got? So I did an apprenticeship at Wingate's on Bristol Road, if you recall. The Wingate development, which is no longer there anymore. So an engineering apprenticeship when I was 16. And unfortunately, that whole site, all the factories, that all went bust. Not bust, that's not true. It ceased trading in the area. So at the end of our apprenticeships, I, along with sort of 25 other apprentices, a lot of which remain friends all these years later, we were all laid off. And so I was stuck with something to do. So I worked with my dad for a while doing electrical contracting, which I've always done, in fact, as a boy. But eventually I sort of found my way into working working for a small local window company.
All right. Who's that?
That was called KMB, Keith and Nigel Beasley, back in the day. And they were great. But I just finished an engineering apprenticeship. I like to think I had a pretty good eye for measurement. And I'd always wanted to work for myself. And having worked with my dad previously to all of that in some rather nice properties and meeting some good people, business people, and he kind of like gave me a taste of what I should be heading for, really, if you like, or aspire to. So so eventually I thought, right, well, we'll have a go. And I make no bones about the fact that I knew nothing about business at the time. Nothing.
Yes,
So,
yeah,
but
lots
I had a
of
will.
actually.
I had a will to work for myself, and I'll never forget the first meeting I had with Barclays, and a partner at the time as well when we first started, and we went in with nothing prepared at all, expecting to get some loans and some funding, and they started talking about profit and loss accounts and projections, cash flow forecasts, and all the rest of it, and we were just rabbits in the headlights and knew nothing. I'm pretty au fait with all of that now, by the way, but you learn by your mistakes, don't you? So that's kind of how we got started in a little unit in Moorlands, and we expanded that times 10 over the 17 years that we were there. But I've been living in Minsterworth in the Forest of Dean for 34 years. And I spotted the site at Newnham. I drove by it every day for 3 or 4 years, and it was up for sale. And one day I just got out of the car and thought I'll go and have a look. And yeah.
And took it
and then we bought it. Yeah, then we bought it.
Going back to when you were first starting off, like I mean, it must have been a bit difficult, wasn't it? So can you remember your first customer?
Sorry, Mark, I should have offered you a cup of tea.
It's okay. I know what you like. Can you remember your first customer? You know, how did that come about?
I do actually. His name was Mr. and Mrs. Stevens in Churchdown. And when we were first starting with no money in anything, I'd sold a Cortina, which was basically our capital right at the time. And we were canvassing and knocking on doors, because these days you wouldn't do that any more than you would want to be involved with telephone canvassing or anything like that. It's to do, isn't it? We all hate it. But back then, that's what we had to do to get going. So we were knocking on doors, and I knocked on a door of Mr. and Mrs. Stevens, and said, "You fancy having these windows changed? We just started." And they said yes. Right. So that's the truth, and I'm eternally grateful for that couple that took faith in us, and eventually we did 4 or 5 sales. And the truth is, we were using deposits to help us buy a van and get going. We couldn't get credit or anything back in the day. My first supplier was Brian Ronsky, a guy who lived in Cheltenham. I think he still does. Quite a well-known family in our industry. And he was great, but you could not get credit. But that's how we got started, and then we built from there with no bank support and anything or much of anything else. But
so one of the things you guys were always famous for was your marketing, if I remember, because I worked in the advertising department of the Citizen Echo in 92, so you've been going around 5 years by then. No, a little bit longer, 12 years by then or so. And of course, you had your very famous radio adverts on Seven Sound, which was were they pigs?
3 Little Pigs, yeah.
3 Little Pigs. I can't remember the tune, but can you hum us the tune, mate?
I could.
How did it go? I can't remember now. It was really catchy.
Have you just cast it out?
Yeah, I'm just trying to hook you in, to help me out. Because I just
you know the 3 Little Pigs go. If you like, I'll send you a copy of Glevum's greatest hits, which we used to give to kids and things back in the day. And we had a second release called "Now That's What I Call Glevum" back in the day as well.
No, that's what I call Glevum. You'll have to send it to us.
I will do. Yeah, we won quite a lot of awards for that sort of thing, and we loved it. Sales and marketing. Yeah,
it's the cornerstone of building a company, because you had the 3 Little Pigs on Seven Sound, and you also had the art, the class behind the glass, and that leads us very nicely on to Melinda Messenger, who became the face of Glevum, and was she a young student? How did you get to meet Melinda, and how did that come about?
She yeah, it's correct. We launched her career. She was working in this very small modeling agency at in Swindon, if I recall, and a fellow called Richard Gold, who was a whiz. I don't know if you ever met him, Mark, but he was a whiz with his sales and marketing. Great guy. And he wanted to run with this campaign, which I don't mind admitting, a little nervous about, for obvious reasons. Really, it was possibly certainly taboo in this day and age. But back then it was, sort of more accepted, and that doesn't make it necessarily right. But and he wanted to run with this, and there was also, a lot of people don't realise it, but there was a guy as well who was also photographed and what have you, and ready to run with the campaign. But that didn't ever happen, because the guy changed his mind about it for whatever reason, or changed career paths. Don't know, but yeah, no, it went from nothing to page 3 of the Times, which is one of my claims to fame.
Have you got a copy of it? Can you bring it up on your screen breakers very quickly, if that's okay? There we go. Yes, I mean, it was amazing, isn't it? As a double-page spread in the
page 3 of the Times. It was in all of the tabloids. It was an amazing time, a real roller coaster. But also with our company, which way do I have to lean to get out of the way? But also with our phone number on page 3 of the Times and our company name. So yeah, it's and we're still talking about it now, Mark, 25 years later. So yes. Was it a good thing to do? I think it possibly was, and it was a bit of fun as well, and it launched Melinda's career. She's a wonderful person, and And you stayed in touch with her as well, isn't it? Because I remember a few years ago you had an open thing, and didn't she come back down to Glevum? No, it wasn't actually. That was a different model. Look, it's a different. I can't quite think of her name now. To be honest, you caught me out there. No, Melinda was away or something. It just didn't quite work. But now we've stayed in touch over the years. Not so much lately. She's moved on to Dizzy Heights, hasn't she? She's like an A-lister. But now she come back and was very loyal to us and looked after us and gave us mentions, and bought windows from us as well. So we got to know the whole family. They're really nice. So we treasure that relationship and would never abuse it. And so we never took liberties, and respect it to this day. So yeah. No, but marketing has always been the forefront of everything that you've done, really. You are right. You've won lots of awards. I remember when I was at the Citizen, you used to have a page every week. I wish you were my account, by the way, which but there you go. So carrying on from that, then, why did you get into this sort of construction side? So Glevum Windows is doing really well. You're based now in the Forest. Why did you move into the sort of maintenance? Was it just a natural progression for the company? Yeah, it's. I mean, you're always trying to be agile and move forward and look for new markets. And the truth of it was, we become very, very successful with conservatories, and we were actually voted the UK's #1 conservatory installer at one point, and which was quite a thing. Grosvenor House, everything else, celebrity prize giving and what have you. So that was great. So we were doing an awful lot of conservatories. So if you look at a conservatory, you've got all of the construction skills which we needed to take on. So bricklayers, plasterers, electricians, plumbers, tilers, you name it, as well as installation staff for frames and lead workers and all of it. So we actually had a team, a construction team there. So it was a natural progression for us to go on and do an element of building. We did an awful lot of refurbishment work for Mitsubishi, was our biggest client. We refurbished showrooms, which it started with glazing, but then it's very quickly moved to tiling because we had tilers and whatever else they needed. So we did a massive amount of work for Mitsubishi UK, under the guidance of Lance Bradley, a name you'll be familiar because he's now at Gloucester Rugby Club running that. So we're eternally grateful for the work that we did with them. And so yeah, we found our way into elements of construction, which on the conservatory front also led us to work for Taylor Wimpey, were our first client, and David Wilson Homes. And they kept asking us to do windows as well. So all of a sudden we were doing conservatories when they were all of the rage, and they sort of still are now. But they kept on, and eventually we agreed to do windows for them, which was something I didn't think I would ever get into, but now we're doing an awful lot of new build windows. So it's wonderful.
I mean, it's progressed from there. I mean, what would you say would be your biggest mistake? Because we've all been business a long time. Because I was a great believer that you could learn from your mistakes. What was your own personal big business mistake that you've sort of regretted? Or
Yeah,
maybe you haven't.
I've made some. No, I've made some.
There's too many. There's too many to list.
Missed opportunity really grates with me. There's property that I should have bought back in the day, and we all know what's happened with property. And if you go back 40 years, yeah, there's things that I should have done and gone for it. I normally go for it, but there's decisions that I should have gone with that I didn't. So, but hey ho.
I mean, that's the thing, is that when you're younger like that, and hindsight's a wonderful thing. So, are you talking about property in Gloucester now? That is, you look at some of them in the Keys, look at Spinnaker Way, all these different elements of places now that are really motoring along. Because you've seen the change, haven't you? Even from Moorland has changed over there. I mean, it's quite amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Things have progressed, and yeah, there was a property that it was actually where my father used to operate from, with a fella called Mike Beard on Bristol Road, something like 25-30,000. Lovely property, in excess of $500,000 now, I guess. But yeah, just we were undercapitalized at the beginning, and you just got to cut your cloth accordingly, haven't you? So but hey, we've done okay, so not complaining.
Now your sister works in the business now as well, because Sue, isn't it? Sue Jones. She runs the window side. Is that right? And you run the construction side.
No, Sue is the managing director of Glevum Windows. My sister worked with me for 61 years actually. 60, because she's a year younger than me, but she's worked for the business for over 30 years. So
How come you brought your sister in then? Was it because you were looking for extra help? You needed a family member that you could trust? How did you end up working with her?
No, she's good with accounts, and at the time we needed it, and I needed it. I needed her, and she was available, so she come in. She actually worked for me for 3 or 4 months with zero pay. So yeah, big shout out for my sister Sue. She deserves it. She deserves it. And
anybody who works for nothing, mate, is well worth a shout out.
Yeah. So she's fantastic, and she loves the business, and loves what she does. And so she runs the domestic side, Glevum Windows. And a fellow called Mike Donaldson runs the new build side, who's been with us 8 or 9 years now, I forget, but he's the MD of it's called Glevum Design and Build. That's the brand that we use for the new build side, but that's his forte. And yeah.
What would you say Glevum's Windows sort of secret to your success has been all these years?
Me. the will to go forward and get on with it, and you hit your barriers, don't you? But now we've kept going. But now I think I always say to new people when they start with us that whatever you're doing in there, whether you're fitting windows or selling windows or administering or whatever it is, whatever you're doing in their property, you do it in a manner that you would accept or appreciate in your own home. So if you're not prepared to do that, you're not right for this business. So yeah, do unto others as that you'd want done to yourself, and just get it right. and every now and again it doesn't always go right because we're in construction and things like rain and vans breaking down and stuff, but it's how you put it right, looking after the customer, good communication, etc. And so yeah, now we just like to do a good job, and that might sound a bit cheesy, but I'm a Gloucester boy, Tuffley boy, same as you, where you live, or you used to live.
Yep.
Still live there?
Still live here, mate. Yes, yes.
Sorry, now I'm doing the
It's just off Stroud Road. That's right. Still here. Yeah. So lived in this area a long time now.
Yeah. So yeah, I lost my thread there. What were we on about?
I can't bloody remember now. We're talking about the secret of Glevum's success, and and how you sort of drive things forward. I think a lot of it is, like I said, it's the marketing, it's the sales, it's a great reputation. Your branding has always been really clear cut. You yourself has been a nice, always been a nice, pleasant guy to work with, and also you've done a lot.
Very nice of you, thank you.
It's all right, mate. You've been one of these guys. I don't like to say this too much, but one of those guys I admire as a businessman for a long, long time, and you've always been very nice to us as well when I was younger. You also done an awful lot for charity over the years, haven't you? And you've been involved. Was it City Safe or something like that as well? I can't remember now. Or the police.
I've been involved with lots of various charities over the years. I think the one you're probably thinking about is Morroway House.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, that's right. So can you tell us a bit about that, please?
Yeah, it's our little bit of giving back, really. I'm going to take the opportunity to change the slide, if that's okay.
Okay. You haven't prepped this then?
Not much.
Yeah, you really haven't prepped it. Okay.
Not much.
Okay.
Let's go back a question. What's the secret of success? Be prepared. Yeah, Morroway House was a property that we invested in about 7 years ago. It's the old Robury Morris building, if you remember Robury Morris.
Yeah, John Crooknoff's stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and Conrad Stewart before that. And yeah, the original intention was to develop it and maybe change its use to flats or student lets perhaps, which was something that was needed at the time. But we were approached by the Gloucester Law Centre, which is a charity, and the Citizens Advice Bureau, because they were both looking for new accommodation. And so we went along with that, and that's changed over the years. And the objective of Morroway House, which is, as it says, a community interest company, was to assist charities, in truth, and that's what we do. We look after those charities. A lot of them, for whatever reasons, they're centered around looking after children, young adults. CCB is a good example. They've been a fantastic tenant there for a while. And 3 or 4 homeless charities, that provide shelter and that sort of thing. We don't accommodate people in the building apart from their administration and staff, but yeah, so we've been doing our bit. We feel good about it. It's helped to keep the building somehow maintained. It's a big wish of mine to develop that whole site because it's directly opposite the new bus centre and the new forum centre. It's in a good place.
Yeah, the transportation hub is right opposite that, isn't it?
Yeah, when we were talking about starting off this community interest company, when you look at it, it was opposite the taxi rank, next to the bus stops, opposite the train station, and it just had everything, and it was exactly where those people needed to be. And I partly mentioned it. We've got a little bit of space if anybody's interested. You might want some office space there yourself, Mark. Come on in, we'll look after you.
Yeah, I won't stay on here too long, otherwise you'll close the deal. It's funny that, so there's your investment, isn't it? I can see it there without a shadow of a doubt how much value you can add into that as well. And
yeah, 2 partners. That's Darren Stevens, who I think and Rupert Waters, who's he's basically looking after the whole project, really, in truth, and in credit to him. So yeah, it's not prepared at all. I'll leave you with that one. Sorry.
You carry on. Have you got any more?
No, we'll go back there.
Anyway, we're kind of running out of time. So, Gary, if we were hopped in your car, what kind of car you got nowadays?
I'm in a Range Rover.
Okay, so you put in your CD player in the Range Rover. What would be your CD that you've just the latest CD or music download? What do you listen to in your car, mate?
CDs.
Yeah, I still listen to CDs. I like them.
You need to get with the program, matey.
So what would you listen to? What would you have there?
Oh, I've got a wide variety of musical taste. If you wanted a name, Barry White.
Okay, so Barry White would be
Or soul, any soul really, but yeah, Barry White.
okay.
I moved on in that regard over the 40 years. It used to be punk rock back in our day when I first met you, but it has moved on. Lots of different things, Lighthouse Family, Fleetwood Mac, people like that, you know. So it's yeah, but Barry White, he would be one of my musical heroes for sure.
Okay, well, we're coming up to the end of Punchline Talks now, Gary. So I always ask my guests, what's your top 3 business tips, please?
Cool. How long we got?
Well, we don't have very long left, so
okay. I've been thinking about this, and it's not, you know, when you've been around as long as we have, it's not easy to sum up, but I'll do it very, very quickly. So I've got 3 categories: focus, cost, fun. Okay.
Okay, go on then.
Having dwelled on this for a little while. In terms of focus, it depends whether you're talking to a startup or you're talking to a big regional player in whatever industry, really. But for me personally, time management, focus. The word focus it goes across the board. So focus on time management in the first place, because there's only so much of it. So whether you're focusing on your product or focusing on your staff or your P&L or whatever it is, but focus, make time for yourself, and you go on a time management course and learn how to control your own diary. I think it's, you know, it's just, I feel a good one. You know, create space and devote appropriate time to the priorities that will sort of, you know, be there, obviously. So yeah, that word focus.
Okay, so that's number 1.
Yeah. Cost.
Okay.
So, and I bang on about this all the time. So if you don't know your cost, your operating cost, or whatever cost, direct overhead, indirect overhead, whatever they might be, if you don't know your cost, how do you create a price list? You can't do one without the other. If you can't create a price list, you can't go out and expect to be competitive. You might be too high, too low. Yeah. You've got to know your cost. It's absolutely fundamental. When you work out your time management, make sure you devote enough time to work on your cost, because it's at the root of everything, and it doesn't really matter what you're selling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cost, really key. And the third one on my list, and I've just bypassed an whole load of things because I didn't know how long we were going to have, is fun. So I think you should develop a culture of having some fun, not a playground, but having some fun. And the reason why I say this is if you get everything else right, in terms of whatever else you're focusing on, getting your costs right, getting your pricing right, getting a lovely product, having a brilliant team around you, and all the rest of it. But if a salesman goes into a property and he's miserable, he's not going to get a sale. Miserable for whatever reasons. If you've not got a smile on your face, it's unlikely that you're going to be successful. That's my view. You've got to keep going, and you've got to have that whatever charisma and fun about you as an organization and as individuals. That's not acting necessarily, but I think it comes back to the culture thing. Try and have some fun in business. So I believe that to be true. We don't want to be operating around miserable individuals, do we, Martin?
No, we don't. And that is a fantastic place to leave it, Gary. Thanks ever so much for joining us today. Gary Jones, Chairman of Glevum Windows. Great to see you again, Gary. And thanks for watching Punchline Talks. If you like the show, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you again very soon. Cheerio. Bye.